Hey, good to see everyone here. How's everyone doing this evening? We got some special effects and stuff to go. I see Timothy in the chat, Caitlin in the chat, Megan in the chat, Emily in the chat, Tyler in the chat, Olivia in the chat. Who all is here? Feel free to say hi. I'm going to talk so quickly that I'm going to lose my words. But I'm Brian Stevens. I'm here to talk to you about video games. It's probably one of my favorite topics to talk about. This is a presentation I like to give. I've added some new stuff in here. There's 2 new topics for tonight. So if you were here last year and I talked about some topics in video games, it's a little bit the same, but a little bit different with some new topics. Sebastian, so good to see you here, Sebastian. Let's just say hey to Sebastian in the chat right there. But I want you to say hey to someone. This is a different type of classroom if you've never been in one of my classes, which if your name's not in blue, you've probably never been here. Blue are mods, so they probably have had one of my classes. But just tag someone in the chat, say hey, it's your chance to interact. I watch the chat at all times. This is my home space. This is where I exist on YouTube, and I'm so used to reading what the chat says at all times. So I want you to just tag someone, tag your friend if you see them in the chat. Just ask them how they're doing tonight. It's just kind of how we interact here online. And of course, we've got Mewbot to give us points. So, hey, if you're in my class, let's just throw out some 50 points right here. Mewbot giving out those points. Oh, Mewbot, we got to wake up. Oh, Mewbot's there. Mewbot's giving out those points. So if you're in any of my classes, you just got some points. Or if you're not, you got points. That's good too. But feel free to tag someone. You can tag me with questions also. This is how you tag someone. I'm going to say hi to Timothy right here. I say hi to Thomas. Thomas, good to see you here. This is how you tag someone. You just say hi in the chat or whatever you want, and they just do at their name. So just take a moment right here. This is where we just learn how this weird YouTube thing works. I think a lot of people have been on live streams, but I'm always watching the chat right there, seeing what people are saying. So I want you to know at any point during this conversation, during this lecture right here, I want you to chime in, like Timothy's doing right there, saying hi to Tyler right there. But I want you to chime in with your ideas because we got some new topics tonight, and they're slightly controversial, slightly modern topics. I was going to include even more, and I was like, some of these topics I know really well, and then some of these topics I was looking stuff up on, and I was like, wow, there's even more to this than I thought, and it was kind of changing my views a little bit. I'm always someone who goes by the data, and when I read the data and I look at it, I try to make decisions and then adjust my views accordingly. And I want you to give me data. You've got your experiences. Does anyone here play video games and has some views? Because if you've got views, if you've played video games, you're here, Maxwell, Tyler, Timothy, if you've got these views tonight, I want you putting these views in the chat. I want you sharing them because this is not a one-way conversation. I'm going to do a lot of talking, but I want you talking. I want you sharing your thoughts. I want you sharing your experiences. I want you to say where you agree, where you disagree, because do I know everything? I'd like to think I do. What's up, Robert? Good to see you here. So good to see everybody. How many people do we have right now? But that's what we got going on. But you know what? In the theme of video games tonight, we can't just say hello. We got to really say hello. So let's do that. I'm blocking it. I got to go this way. We got to try that again. You ready? Let's get that one more try. Ready? Got to make a much better pause face than that, boys. Here we go. Second try is the charm right there. Second try is the charm. Got to really make sure you're not blocking right there. Thank you, Timothy, right? The little Smash Bros to start out. Everyone's here. I hope everyone is here. Because tonight is the history of video games, going from Pong to PlayStation with some new topics. Classic entry right there. Gotta love it. Let's head over to the main screen right here, or head over to the lecture screen and start talking about some stuff. I might actually do it lecturing from the main screen. Let's go from current slide. I gotta watch out that I don't get copyright strike tonight. Is tonight the night Brian gets copyright striked? Let's hope not. Okay, let's do this. Over to the main screen. Okay. Oh, I got the zoom on. Tonight is about from Pong to PlayStation, the history of video games. So when you think about this, video games have been around a very long time. Does anyone know any of these games over here to the left? I can name you, sadly, I can name about 4 video games. I'm thinking, I can name that one. I can name that. I can name that. I can name that, because that's all Nintendo-based. Does anyone see any game they know over here on the left, which is in the history of video games? I can name that. I've seen that one. Ooh, that's the Qbert game. 2 or 3, maybe. This is a Vectrix game. Is that the game? Is that the Tron game? I know several. Ross, if you want to shout, Robert, if you want to shout some out right here, shout them out, because we've got over here Dragon's Lair, we got over here Donkey Kong again, we got some Tetris. Is that Balloon Battle? That's Mario, of course. It's Asteroids. Not RC Pro-Am. I know several. Adam, good to see you in the chat. Who else knows any of these other ones besides me? Metroid. Oh, I got classic Metroid down here. Of course, there's going to be some more Metroid tonight. This is Marble Madness, one of my favorite games. I'm so glad Marble Madness is included. That's an NES game right there. Qbert, that is Qbert. Great job right there, Sebastian. We'll throw some points on the chat right there. Hey, if you're in my class, you get extra credit right there. These are like Vectrix games right here. All different consoles represented right here. Especially Dragon's Lair is a very interesting game that actually used video elements. So games took many winding paths throughout the years with the graphics they chose. Tetris, Emily, right there, you're right. Boom, some Tetris. Where is it? Over here. Tetris, you talk about a game that's been around for a long time that is still going strong. Tetris, just those 4 block pieces, hence Tetris, 4 blocks, going strong right there. Very, very popular game. Been around a long time. Tonight we have some new topics. So we are going to talk about violence in video games and some of the things that's happened or that have been attributed to violence in video games. In my opinion, I think they go a little bit beyond, but I was looking at the research and I was like, ooh, that research I try to go by the data, and the data is not looking good for a few things, but I think we have some solutions. Also, representation in video games, especially female representation, because it's very interesting to see the history of this, how video games started out, where they've gone, and female representation is just one form of representation in video games. So what did we see, especially with female representation? And then we could even get into topics of what we're seeing with like LGBT representation in video games, where that has been. And I was actually shocked as I was reading through this. But Borderlands, has anyone ever played Borderlands? Who here besides me has played Borderlands? This was a topic I didn't put throughout the whole lecture. But Borderlands, if you've played Borderlands, no one's played it. I'm the only one who's ever played Borderlands. Such a great series of games. Shout outs to Borderlands. If you haven't played Borderlands 1, 2, or 3, or the prequel a while back. Oh no, is Brian old because he's played Borderlands now? Borderlands 1, 2, 3, and then they've got Tiny Tina's Adventure coming out. But Borderlands surprisingly has a lot of LGBT characters. I didn't even realize that. I was like, what? I've done a bit of 2. Yeah, dude, I love some Borderlands. I got that dude with the crow in the first one, and then I got the girl with the mech in the second one. Love some Borderlands. Borderlands great. Yeah, Robert, Borderlands is such a good series. And I didn't know it. I think that's really great, especially when representation is intertwined so well that it becomes just, it's this character and you don't even realize these things. One other thing about representation, especially with LGBT, is Hollow Knight. Who would have known it, but Hollow Knight, as I was looking through representation in games, Hollow Knight actually has a lot of characters of representation. It's not exactly humanoid characters. So I think a lot of these games we don't even realize have representation, and it's, we're just playing a great game, and that's one of the things I like. If you've ever played Hollow Knight, but let me just ask you this to start out: what games have you played? What are your games? What games do you play? You've heard a bit of mine with Borderlands and Hollow Knight, Enter the Gungeon, Binding of Isaac. I like a lot of roguelites and shooters and stuff like that. I grew up on Doom, Quake. They're even in some Pier of the Slides. I played Mortal Kombat a little bit. Played Sierra games. What games have you played growing up? Yeah, Hollow Knight is, if you're talking about Hollow Knight is amazing. Hollow Knight is a top tier game. What games have you played growing up? What were your games that make up your history of video game? Oh, we got some FIFA and Forza right there. Yeah, those are good games, especially the sports games. Those games look so crazy nowadays. Sports games right there. The Last of Us. I'm trying to get into The Last of Us. We're playing the Nathan Drake collection right now on PS5, and then they're releasing the new enhanced version. Of course, we're starting it. Classic Super Mario 64 on it. Oh, dude. Some Super Mario on N64. That is awesome. I just remembered my face is going to be so sad. I forgot to put one character in here for representation. FIFA, Call of Duty, NHL, Madden, some COD, Call of Duty, right there, some COD. Last of Us is so good. We'll try some more Last of Us, some JRPGs. So like some Dragon Quest, or some Final Fantasy, or some Earthbound, or some there's one called Eternal Sonata. Eternal Sonata came out on original Xbox. Some I love some Dark Souls. I just play it. Sometimes I'll load up Dark Souls just to see how far I can get on like one character life. Some Legend of Zelda, LOZ, some Super Metroid, too many. The show, MLB The Show. I started on Minecraft and Pokemon. I've been playing a lot of shooters and Battle Royales. Yeah, like maybe some, what is it called? PUBG and stuff like that. MLB The Show and great graphics. Even the most Mass Effect trilogy. Oh yeah, Mass Effect was super popular. Mass Effect 1, 2, 3. I played a little Mass Effect and I was like, this is so in-depth. I played a little Mass Effect. All the RPGs, Earthbound, Undertale. I played Undertale. Pokemon Off. I don't know Off. And you finally said some I don't know. Link to the Past, of course. And then Link Between Worlds was really good. The one that came out on 3DS. What is OFF and what is One Shot? Is that no? That's a different game. I'm thinking of the game with the hypers. I'm thinking of a different game. But yeah, great suggestions right here. If you're looking for different suggestions, this is the place to go. Just meeting people and asking them, what's your favorite game? You can find out so many different things. And there's a lot of fun, different games out there, just different genres. And it's just what appeals to you. And maybe we'll try to give The Last of Us another shot. Okay, for those who have played The Last of Us, my last question before we start getting into the slides. Does the game feel change? One Shot is a masterpiece? I need to check that out then. I don't know what One Shot is. What is it on? And does The Last of Us get better? Or maybe we just didn't give it enough of a shot. I don't know. We're like 2 hours into it. That's my last question for Brian's own advice here. Does The Last of Us does it change pace? We're like 2 hours in maybe. And then we went and started playing some Horizon Zero Dawn, which was amazing. So Horizon Zero Dawn was absolutely stunning. It does. Okay. We should circle back after we finish Nathan Drake collection. One Shot is on computers, no wonder. I haven't been computer in a long time. It's about 14 hours long total for The Last of Us, and then Last of Us 2, of course. Yeah, maybe we'll give it another shot. Maybe we'll go back and start going through the campaign more. Also got really good. Its narratives wound super tight, and the characters really shine after a while. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I could tell that. It seemed like that's the way the Nathan Drake collection has been so far. It's like a very good... It feels like you're watching an action movie while you're playing it. The gameplay is kind of but story triumphs that total. Okay, you know what game has been really good? God of War, the new God of War. Boy, I can't do it. Boy. Oh, man, the new God of War. PlayStation or Xbox? Ooh, you know what we can do? Let's take one poll in the chat right here. PlayStation or Xbox, and then we're going to start up here. Ask your community, poll in the chat, PlayStation or Xbox. I don't think I get to vote. We are PlayStation right now after Brian has been Xbox for a long time. I bought a PS2, and then I bought an Xbox. Then I bought an Xbox 360. Then I bought an Xbox One. And then after the whole everything, I've gone PS5. Yeah. The new God of War. I mean, I liked Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn is like a 9. God of War is like a 9.5 or maybe a 10. I have the ending of Play God of War. It's like my favorite movie. It is a close battle. Oh, it's 50-50. Let's end the poll on that 50-50. Civilization? Man, oh gosh. We'll start a whole new topic here. Let's hop into the lecture right here. So how did it all begin? Talking about some Civ right there. Civ is old stuff, but not as old as Pong. So when it comes to old video games, Pong is really what people think of when they think of old video games. But there is stuff before Pong. What came before Pong, you ask? This. This is what we had before Pong. Not me, because I wasn't playing this. I wasn't around at this time. This right here is what I think it's Space. I have the name on the next slide. I didn't play it, so I'm not that acquainted with this. You used to have two battleships trying to battle each other with a black hole in the center of the screen, sucking them in. And just think about the way this would work. If you've done any programming, you've just got right here the shots and the position of the ship and the black hole pulling them in by the thing. And this right here is what we have, Space Battle. Space Battle, developed in 1962. Space War. Is it Space War? It's Space Battle, I believe, right, Steve? Space Battle. Or if I got the name wrong, it is Space War. But this was developed in 1962 at MIT and is considered one of the first video games right here. And if you look at this, look at this machine. Oh, no worries. Please tell me if I get something wrong. This machine right here is absolute insanity. Oh, I can't click to enlarge it. Oh, it's a bummer. I can't imagine going into an arcade and going up to this thing and playing it. This is pure like 70s/60s tech. It looks straight out of an Austin Powers movie. You can tell someone has it in their garage or basement and no one's playing this thing anymore. But it's kind of cool. It's kind of that mustard yellow. Don't know anyone would color that. A lot of housing for all the massive computer components to run that 1 megabyte worth of computer programming. And they even developed a gamepad for it. When you look at this already right here, you have people going on from this to found Atari. So we have these two individuals right here who programmed Space Wars, Nolan Bushnell and Ted Dabney going on to found Atari later in 1975. So when you think about it, people were developing video games pretty early on, 1962s, that's a long time ago, before we get to any sort of video games actually in the market to where people are massively using video games in their everyday life. Now, this is the way I remember GameStop. GameStop nowadays, and it makes me kind of sad, has a lot of Funko Pop figures. Like, you usually don't walk and you still see the thing of games. All I see in this GameStop right here is games. But now you walk in and it's a bunch of like, they got to sell more than games because the online market's crazy. But this is not what I really remember. Here's what I really remember. I really remember things like Software Etc. and Babbage's and all these video game stores from the 90s. This is, I looked up a 90s video game store. I think, oh, that's DS. So whenever DS first came out. So DS, Game Boy Advance came out like 2001 or 2. So the DS isn't going to be out till like 2005. But when it comes to this, these stores were crushing it in the 90s. Discs are dying with the adventure. Exactly. Robert, you couldn't have said it better. The stores right now are really suffering because digital is so just prevalent. I'd like for us to own actual physical copies of our games, but it's so much easier nowadays when a game comes out on launch just to buy it, and then it's going to download to your system. I think a lot of games will even like pre-download to your system. So we're seeing a new transformation to now you walk into these stores and they're trying to sell you things beyond the video games. And these stores are really having a hard time. If you didn't know it, GameStop was doing so well for so long. It's so funny with all the GameStop stocks coming up. But GameStop did so well because what was GameStop trying to do? Not sell you new games. That's the answer. But what was GameStop trying to do that was so strong for their business model, probably from the early 2000s to 7-8 years ago? What was GameStop's kind of marketing strategy when it came to selling video games? They don't want to sell you new games, which is shocking. And it all comes down to margins. Yeah, you're right. No, Megan, you're totally right. GameStop, you could walk in and buy some N64 or NES, and they want the pre-owned games. It's funny if you watch people like, I watch like Camelot, or if anyone knows these YouTubers, but they'll talk about how these video game stores, exactly, they're trying to sell you the old games, the trade-ins, because they're trying to do this circle of life thing where you buy the game for like $25, and then you bring it back to them and you get $3 or $4 back for the game. I mean, you really get next to nothing, but they'll buy your games back, and they'll buy every one of your games back super cheap probably, and then they're going to sell your games that they just bought for $4 to someone else for $25. And even if they're making a $10 thing on the game, they're just trying to recycle these games as much as possible, which is an okay business model and is really smart, and it worked for them for such a long time. If you went to Westtown Mall a long time ago, there were 2 GameStops, and one of them was, I think, a Software Etc. that they turned into a GameStop. Maybe it was just because GameStop bought Software Etc. But it was so, the video game market was so strong that in a mall, there was 2 video game stores. Like, let's go to the mall. Let's go buy a video game. Okay, which GameStop in the mall do you want to go to? But the world has changed once again to more digital, and we don't see the prevalence of the GameStops anymore. Who knows what's happening with the stock? I got to watch with this. This is where I'm going to get copyright claimed. But if you want to go even further back in time, you would go over to Sears, and this kid's like, "Hey, Grandpa, can I play a game with you?" And he's like, "Yeah, kid, I just got this really cool Pong system." And they're like, "Pong?" He's like, "Yeah, you can go buy it at your Sears." And they're like, "What, Grandpa? Pong system? Oh my God." Oh, wait, that's too far. He said, "Grandpa, Pong system?" Another kid comes in, and then the mom comes in and says, "Wait, are we playing Pong? Everyone playing Pong?" She has that 80s hair right there, 70s hair. And I'm pretty sure the biggest thing is this was all at Sears. Could you imagine the place to buy your video game is a department store? And department stores have video games, at least last I remember. Haven't been in any department stores lately. But there were so many Pong consoles. Pong consoles were just a dime a dozen. Anyone could make their own Pong console. And if you look at this, there's people like Angry Video Game Nerd, James Rolfe, who collects Pong consoles. And I would dare say there's hundreds of Pong consoles, just different developers making them just to play one simple game. And this is all you get to do. Actually, they get to play like multi-Pong. Who would pay $200 for this? Anyone in the chat? We'll see what chat says. You want to pay $200 for this? And this is $200 of like 1978 money. So we're talking $400 or $500. Then you don't got to go to the arcades. Looks like we have no buyers right now. No one wants in the 70s. In the 70s, $200 or $300. Not when I can emulate it for free. Robert right there got the ideas right there. Worth some 50 points. Emulate it for free. That's a whole console today for just a game. Isn't that ridiculous, Timothy? But here's the thing, is that no one had this kind of stuff. And it was just a novelty, basically. And no one was really playing these as hobbies. You'd kind of pull it out and be like, hey, who wants to play a game of Pong tonight? And they're like, oh, let's play some ping pong, and then let's play some Pong. It was more of a novelty to show people. And gosh, I start to feel old when I talk about my parents' computer at our house. But where you really went to play games back then was the arcades. We got a kid, really, this is a really good photo. Oops. This is a really good photograph of someone in the 80s right here. I keep remembering, I can't click. I usually do my slides a little bit differently. But actual kid from the actual 80s right here. And with his friends at an arcade. Kid looks like something crazy is going on. Maybe he's a little something going on there. But with this right here, we've got 1.5 million arcade machines in North America in 1982, the year I was born. And we got 24,000 full arcades. And when you think about this, that's 480 arcades per state. So arcades were everywhere. And I really miss seeing like these massive arcades with all these machines. I didn't see a ton of it because I wasn't around much for the arcade craze. But in the early 90s, especially, if you went to like a putt-putt golf, there was just kids going around. You actually had to wait for an arcade. Does anyone even know the way to wait for an arcade? Who knows the proper arcade etiquette to wait for an arcade? I'm kind of showing you by doing this. I'll throw some 50 points in the chat if you know the proper arcade etiquette. So if you learn one thing tonight, I will tell you the proper arcade etiquette. If you want to play the game next, what you do. What is the proper... Yeah, Steve knows. Danielle knows. How does everyone know this? You put your coin on the screen. You put your coin in the corner. So you just like line a coin up right there, which is so weird to think you put a coin on the screen, you just walk away, and everyone kind of respects that and doesn't like take your coin. I bet someone must have done that. But pretty crazy. We would just put our coins on the machine, and I do remember that. You'd be like, oh man, that's got a lot of coins. I'll wait a little bit on that one. I'm going to go play another game. But 4 to 6 months was the average life of an arcade machine. But you see a lot of popular ones back here of the Stranger Things. Dig Dug. I should have worn my Dig Dug shirt tonight. Wearing my Nightwing shirt. Galaga. All these great arcade machines right here. Good stuff from the 80s. And what were the most popular arcade machines? We got Mr. Pac-Man right here, or just known as Pac-Man. $14 billion as a franchise. People are still going crazy over Pac-Man, and probably Pac-Man makes so much money because the people who like Pac-Man have money now. So if you want to buy stuff from your youth, yeah. You got right here Frogger. I didn't even know the newest version of Frogger came out in 2019. And then with this right here, you've got Donkey Kong. Now, who knows the name of this character, who we will see kind of a change to her later on. Throw some 50 points if you know the name of the person at the very top that Jumpman, also known as Mario, is saving here at the top of the tower from Donkey Kong. What is her name? She actually appears in Mario Odyssey. So she returns Paulina. I'm pretty sure that is Paulina right there. Yep. That is Paulina, who later returns in Mario Odyssey. Pretty amazing to think 1981, even before Nintendo's existence, we have Donkey Kong right here, and that is Paulina. And Daisy is Luigi's princess, right? I think Daisy. And I think Daisy first appears... Did she first appear in the Mario Kart series? Daisy would... Oh, no, Tyler. We're throwing 100 points to Tyler. Don't worry if you get stuff wrong. We're here to answer all the questions. Doesn't matter if we get it wrong. We're just taking shots and figuring out answers. But Daisy... I don't know when Daisy first appeared. She's in Mario Kart. And she's like Luigi's girlfriend of sorts, I guess. I don't know if they're dating. You'll update me on the history of Daisy right there. So this is definitely when video games are booming right here. This is insanity. Could you imagine if we saw in 1 year 3 consoles come out? And look at these high quality consoles right here. We got an Atari at the top. It's probably the only one you should buy. We got here, this is the Intellivision, I believe. And there's the other Atari. That's the Atari 5200. I know a few of these by viewing. Man, you got a numeric keypad. I mean, this could double as a telephone right here. Super Mario Land. Oh, thank you right there, Robert. Throwing some history in the chat. Oh, this one's got a numeric keypad too. Numeric key. You gotta... What kind of video game consoles do we have today that do not have a numeric keypad and a scroll wheel on it? I mean, I really just, what has happened to our controllers where we don't get this like phone keypad? Pretty weird to think this is what people were doing for a while. And definitely we have Intellivisions and stuff. I believe this is the Intellivision. Pretty sure. I don't own these ones, but I did put them all here, and I think it goes in order. So that's going to be the Odyssey 2, and that's the Intellivision. Ooh, because that's, or is that the... I'll just tell you much. These video games were a dime a dozen, and it caused major problems. And so here's the Angry Video Game Nerd. It's the Intellivision right here. So the Intellivision is this one. And I gotta be very careful with this one. James Rolfe, do not copyright claim us. Please, James Rolfe. This is for educational purposes. I'm gonna mute it so we don't hear James Rolfe talking about it. Intellivision coming back with a new console with the keypad and dial. Very excited. Are you serious, Steve? I think you're joking. I think that's a meme right there. There is a bunch of consoles coming back, though.
And in this regard, the main problem...
I love this. The keypad. Oh my gosh. The dial. Did I put the end? Because he just ends up hiding a beer in his Intellivision. This whole thing is just a disaster waiting to happen right here. I can't imagine using that as a controller. It was at E3. Really... Well, I have to take a look at that. I can't believe I'm not up to date on that. You know what? It almost makes me want it now. It almost makes me want it to think that these things will exist once again in reality. Too much. All this right here. Well, so video games started crashing right here. So guess it was just a fusion of arcade and phone for controllers back then. Pretty much, Tyler. Pretty much. So in 1983, video games was at $3.2 billion. And then the revenue drops. I mean, you talk about this. This is a nothing percentage of it. This is close to about 3%, and time is marching forward. So they're making 3% of their revenue 2 years later. To compare this into perspective, GTA 5, which, where's my GTA 6? Can you tell me? GTA 6, where you at? 2022, GTA 5 online for PS5. Where's my GTA 6? GTA 5, what came out on PS3, and we're already like 2 gens later. And we don't have our PS6, our GTA 6 yet. Come on, Rockstar, where you at? But GTA 5 made $800 million. They made 8 times, of course, inflation matters here, but they made 8 times the amount of money in 24 hours. We just see some of these video games massively take off. If you want to talk about some of the AAA titles coming out, I guess the big ones are going to be like God of War Ragnarok. Talk about resting on your exactly. What is GTA 6? If GTA 6 is good, like if it looks good, if the playtesting is good on it, GTA 6 World GTA. Maxwell killed me in the chat right there. 2033. They'll probably break the records with GTA 6. GTA 6 will probably destroy more records. But what do we have big coming out that could be record breakers? Horizon Zero Dawn, not Forbidden West. That's the add-on, right? Can't think of the name of the new Horizon Zero Dawn. That's probably going to do very well. That comes out in February next year. Ragnarok coming out. What else is coming out that's going to be huge? Like, what is the big names? Oh, there was another one. I just watched like the PlayStation 5 showcase. Halo Infinite coming out. Might be looking pretty good. Like little concerns right there. So a few people being like, some of the graphics and stuff. Halo Infinite might be good. A little more Master Chief right there. I was big into Halo 1. Don't get me started on Halo 2. No fall damage. Not playing Halo 2. Sorry, Halo 2. What else? Only Halo Infinite? I know there's other big games coming out. Hogwarts Legacy for PS5. That sounds really interesting. I should check that out and show Chelsea. I'm just using this to... Oh, Elden Ring. Is that the new... That's the new Dark Souls, right, Thomas? Is that the new Dark Souls? Ooh, Elden Ring. And then there's the new... The one from the lore of... Chinese or Japanese lore. Hopefully I'm not getting that too wrong, but Elden Ring this December. Okay. I'm probably buying Elden Ring I'm probably pre-ordering Elden Ring. I might just do that. And if I get a break, I'm doing Winter Session. Breath of the Wild 2. Is it going to be in probably 10 years? You got to be kidding me. Elder Scrolls 6 Redguard. Elder Scrolls 6 Redguard. Big one right there. They've already been doing some voice... I bet you Elder Scrolls 6 is going to drop. They might do it at E3 or something. Like, not drop it then, but they might be like, Elder Scrolls 6 coming out 1 month from now. Pre-order now. Like, it might be something big. There's one other one I'm thinking about. If someone names it, it's it looks really good. They were showing like some of the snow effects. I just wanted to, what is it called? I'm probably gonna mispronounce it. The whole preview was in Japanese, I think. But it looked absolutely amazing. It's another like it's not like a Dark Souls game, but it kind of looks like it. And I do love some Dark Souls games. I want to play Demon Souls. I'll pause for like 10 more seconds, see if anyone knows it. Hopefully someone's Googling it in the background. But you think about all these games, some of them have existed a long time, like Elder Scrolls goes a long way back. We talk about some other games here that go further back. But a lot of games, especially the Zelda franchise, that's a long franchise from a long time ago over many, many different systems. Someone might find the name of that system, that game right there, but I can't remember it. But this company right here, Nintendo, was founded in 1889, and they were making some video games early on. This is a Game & Watch right here. I actually own this one. This is not the one I own, but it's before the Game Boy. So Mr. Game & Watch, you probably know him from his appearance in what game? Who knows? Mr. Shigeru Miyamoto right over here. Oh my gosh, Shigeru, come back. Shigeru Miyamoto kind of led the way for this playing card company right here. So this is what Nintendo was doing. And then Shigeru Miyamoto said, nope, we're doing some video games, and has definitely altered the past. Yep. Mr. Game & Watch is in Smash Bros. And this is an actual Game & Watch. I was given this, gosh, I got this in Christmas of like 1988 or so. And then I sold it in a garage sale and I rebought it from someone on eBay. Not the same one, I'm sure. Well, that'd be pretty neat if it was. I know from Smash Bros. Game & Watch, these are the original systems. They're basically like handheld game systems. They just have one game on it. And I think they even re-released a new... I think they released like a Game & Watch type like 25 or 20 year anniversary recently. I thought about buying it, but I have a lot of stuff. I probably have, I think, 22 to 25 game systems last time I checked. They're currently in storage because I'm not in the Knoxville area, but I have a lot of game systems. Been collecting for a long time. And so when it came down to it, you could be playing Atari and Intellivision. Here's what you get. Or you could be playing Nintendo. And I just want you to see, this is 1984 Nintendo. And this is what the game systems are looking like around this time. I mean, these are pretty new. These are 2 years. These are, the Nintendo Switch is way older than these right now. The Nintendo Switch would be about this old. The Nintendo Switch, I think, is about 5 years old now. And you're playing something that looks like this on Nintendo, and your friends are playing this on Atari. I mean, I would play Duck Hunt. You'd go to someone's house and play Duck Hunt in the 90s, and it was still cool. And Duck Hunt is still cool now. You could probably set that up in a bar, like, not that anyone, if you're old enough, go to a bar, but you could set this up at a bar and people would probably be like, oh my God, Duck Hunt, and they just want to play it. It's such a fun game. Has anyone ever played Duck Hunt besides me? It's just cool. It's like one of the earliest games you got. You got the light blaster on the Nintendo and you just boom and you shoot the ducks, and it's so much fun. And then the dog holds up the ducks. And they're in Smash Bros. Too. A lot of history of Nintendo right there. I might be the only one here who's actually played Duck Hunt. You gotta be careful what TV you're doing it on. So what was happening to Atari during all this? Atari wasn't doing so well. Games like E.T., which Atari thought would do insanely well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you don't got a zapper, not going to work. Yeah, throwing some real words in it, not the blaster, but the zapper or the super scope. That's the SNES one, is the super scope. My high school basketball coach forced us well, no, Maxwell, that sounds so horrible. Like, you have to play Duck Hunt. He was probably like, it's awesome. You're like, you're a 90s kid, aren't you? He's probably a 90s kid like me. But this is where Atari just starts losing out. And Atari just literally buried copies of video games. They didn't just bury E.T., but they thought this E.T. game would be so good. It's absolutely horrible. I've played it. I've tried to play it. It doesn't make sense. It's not a fun game. You're E.T. walking around. You can raise your head up. I don't know. It's like one of those games that you're just like, why am I playing this? It feels like a job. And so now this is where we get into brand new stuff. You were here last year. This is really new stuff right here because I want to talk about some violence in video games. So once again, like kind of a small warning right here, because there's going to be like what people have attributed to, and people have been pretty derogatory towards the violence. I'm sure you know one of these games right here. Fight! Do you know the other game on the other side? People might have mentioned it earlier. I'm making sure I know. It is. Yeah, that's the guy over there. Also known as this guy. I'm pretty sure that's this, right? Pretty sure. I put it in the slide so I had to find it. Pretty sure that's the guy known as this guy. That's Doom and known as Doom Guy. So you no longer see his face. Nowadays, he's got the helmet on, kind of like Halo guy, or John. It's John something, right? Halo? John? I think his name's John in Halo. Master Chief in Halo. But Doom guy over there. Whoops, come on. Don't hit the spacebar button. Doom guy over there, and we got Mortal Kombat. And this has been where people really started to get serious about, like, hey, these video games are starting to look pretty real. Mortal Kombat is one of the first games to use this. Maybe not the first, but was very prominent in using this. You may not know this, but those performances by the players are actually motion capture of actors. So if you actually kind of watch when you do a throw, your character kind of freezes, but they were actually motion capturing performances and then digitizing the performances. So as you watch someone like punching, it's actually like a player doing that. And of course, earlier Mortal Kombat, it looks a little odd, especially if you're far away getting hit. And you're like, wait, they're not even hitting me. Where nowadays Mortal Kombat is, I'm sure they might use some motion capture and stuff like that, but there's a lot more animation and kind of graphics going in it than back in the day where it was just a motion capture. But it still looked absolutely amazing. And politicians and attorneys alike were not happy about this, especially after thing that happened in the 1990s, late 1990s, Columbine. Many of you may know, I remember being in high school when it happened, but there was a really horrific incident at Columbine, and a lot of people came out very strong against video games. Jack Thompson right here, holding up a copy of Grand Theft Auto, basically, when it came to the violence that happened, you got people like Bill Clinton right here attributing the violence in Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct, and Doom to what the men did right there. And yeah, basically kind of blaming violent video games for what happened. And then Jack Thompson brought out a lawsuit with the families. And once again, I just want to say it's horrific what happened. And I hope people have found peace, because that's the best I can say. It's horrible. But I did find some interesting stuff right here. And this is where I started looking into this even more, because in the 90s, violence in video games really started to become a big topic. And so what's the verdict? Well, see, this is the thing. This is where I wonder, because I'm a data person. You can look up more on these studies if you want. Wikipedia has a pretty good article on it. I love Wikipedia. But we got a 2000 study here concluding that playing games makes players, especially males, act more aggressively. And these are very like an abstract of an abstract. A 2008 experiment, more aggressive thoughts activated in a semantic memory right there. And 2010 experiment that the aggression stimulating effects of violent video games can persist long after a game has been turned off if people ruminate about the violent content in the game. Here's the question I have to ask, though. I'd like to see an experiment where people have to go out and play football. And then I'd like to have some metric where we measure violence and aggression. And so we play a game of football, and then we measure their violence, their aggression afterwards. And then we play a game of Mortal Kombat with a different group, and we look at the violence and aggression. I'd like to know the similarities and the differences, because is it the violence? Is it the competitive nature? There's a lot to look at here. Who's with me on that? Like, I'd like more research, because I definitely play a lot of these games. I consider myself quite the pacifist. I played every game you've seen on the screen so far, pretty much, except for the starter screen. I don't think I played all those, but pretty much all the games I've played. And I like to think I'm a very, very pacifist person who's not been impacted by these games in a negative way. I do have what I would consider a solution coming up, but what are people's thoughts on this? Like, what are your thoughts about the violence in video games? You definitely agree. Yeah. And disagree with me. Disagree. Be like, no, Brian, you're wrong. You're wrong. Sebastian, I'm throwing some 20 points for disagreement. If we can get our agreement, violence in video games is heavily. I think that's the thing too. Is I think sometimes maybe the problem with a lot of scientific research is we don't do replication of scientific research. Now you could say these are not necessarily replications. It's a more investigation. But then you have to look at the design of the study. Like, what can we find? I wrote a huge research paper about this, and I agree. All the researchers are hard to analyze because aggression is not easy to quantify and measure. Yeah. So Timothy's on. It's just hard to say, like, is this a competitive thing? Any way to isolate competitives from video games would make for an interesting site. Yeah, Daniel, this is it. So, hey, if you want to start looking into this kind of stuff, if you're in the honors program, whatever you want to do for your own, I don't know. If I got the chance to like research video games, I'd probably do it. There's way too many variables from nature and nurture to the competitive nature. Exactly. And probably one of the best ways to do this would be to have maybe 3 activities and then a neutral group that doesn't do anything, and have 50 participants partake in the activity, and then measure them on different scales, like 5 different scales, like an aggression scale, a competitive scale. Have like one of the group play Mortal Kombat, have another of the group play like flag football. You don't want people getting hurt. Or have another group wrestle. I mean, I wrestled in high school, and frankly, I came off the mat more agitated and more aggressive wrestling. Did anyone else here besides me wrestle? Because when I wrestled in high school, it was like you'd look at that guy and you'd be like, I gotta pin that guy. Like, I'm taking that guy down. Okay, you get psyched up and you're just like, I got this. Just gonna throw him to the ground. Just like, I don't feel that way when I play Celeste. I don't feel that way when I play Borderlands. I don't feel that way when I play Super Mario Bros. I don't get this aggression in me. I do when I'm doing an aggressive sport. And maybe some video games are analogous to an aggressive sport. And then does that go away? Does that translate later on? I'd like to see longitudinal studies. So, I think what we're getting at here, and someone pointed out, there's a lot of variables. There's a lot of things to look at, and we need more studies. So, but one solution I have, and I think this is really where the important thing is I think we need more games where you have a choice. Tell me someone knows this game right here. To me, that's just an iconic image of a game. This game has been around and recently changed its pace after the 3rd came out. Fallout 3, yep. Fallout 3. Actually, it might be Fallout 4, because Fallout 4, you got the dog, right? I think you are. Robert's right there. I think it's Fallout 4. I feel like some people are affected in a negative way more than others. Maybe people who already have temper issues. Maybe. And maybe, yeah, Blake, such a good point right there, Blake. It might be some people are affected more by others. There might be we'd call that an interaction. Like the way in which video game violence impacts people depends on another variable. Like people who've experienced violence might be negatively impacted. Yeah, it's 4 because of the dog, right? And Fallout 3 is really where the Fallout series changed. And I think the reason I think about violence in video games almost being a choice, and I kind of like it that way, is because I think it was in Fallout 3. Correct me if it's Fallout 4. You walk into the city, and the guy's wearing like the sheriff hat, and he's like, "Hey there, how you doing?" And he like knew your father or something like that. I think it's 3. And so New Vegas, everyone loves some New Vegas. New Vegas is good stuff right there. Fallout New Vegas. You walk into the town, the guy greets you. And I always play my first playthrough of a video game as the hero. I like to play the hero story. Like if a video game has divergent paths where you can do the bad choices, the good choices, I always play the first playthrough of a video game as my good character. And if I really love the game, I'll go back and do an evil character run. When I did the evil character run, that guy didn't make it out of my interaction with him the first time. And I mean this, I actually felt bad. Like I knew that character from the storyline, and I actually didn't continue the game much sooner. I was like, I don't want to play this. I was like, I don't want to play the evil character. This was a lot of fun. Maybe I just already beat the game, so I was like, whatever, the ending, I'll just watch it on YouTube. But it just didn't have the same fulfillment to me. So now, as you were saying earlier, maybe it's your experiences you bring into the game. That was Fallout 3. He was Sheriff Megaton. Yeah, because I also went over and dropped the bomb on Megaton. I did that too, Daniel. Daniel, you know some Fallout right there. Yeah, I went over to and I was like, oh, let's drop the bomb. Oh, it's gone. It's a crater now. Ha! And I was like, oh, crud. Yep, you could blow up the whole town. Yeah, you could go over and like the guys like I did that side mission right there to do that, and I was like, that was interesting. And I was like, I don't feel good. But it's interesting when games give you those elements of a choice. Undertale, oh yeah, I'm pretty far in Undertale. I found it really interesting. It's such a different game with Undertale, and there's a lot of it's just so different. I love watching speedrunners who like speedrun that Sans. Some of those last battles. Watching people do like no-hit speedruns of that, pretty awesome. I don't completely know how Undertale ends, and I should probably finish Undertale. I think it's on my Game Pass, and I let that lapse. Oops. Representation in video games has definitely been a big topic too when we talk about how video game characters have been perceived. And to me, I just can't believe this. When you think about it, the early representation of women in video games, when you look at Miss Pac-Man right there, they said, let's take this partially eaten pie figure, let's give it legs, cheeks, a bow, blush, and let's have the ghost guy. I don't know. I can't be meaning games unless it's like detached, like Stellar. I think I've played them a little bit. I feel the same way about I play Red Dead 2. I can't play an evil Arthur because I feel too bad. Yeah, exactly. It's just I don't feel good playing evil characters in video games. And I think that says something to us and the things we like about games. Like, I'll play Mortal Kombat. I'm cool. I'll play some Mortal Kombat. Someone's like, hey, I got Mortal Kombat. You want to play? Sure, whatever. I'll play some Mortal Kombat. But I prefer the games that have an element of choice. I really like that, especially... I don't know if you can so much play a good character in Grand Theft 5, GTA 5, but I like the games like other Rockstar game. I played Red Dead 1, did a lot of the DLC for Red Dead 1. Haven't played full Red Dead 2 yet. Just it's a huge game. Sometimes I just look at a game and I'm like, I need to play this, but I don't have time. Plus the voice, I miss the voice actor from Red Dead 1. So when you look at representation in video games, we've definitely seen changes, and I really think, definitely there's a conversation to be had. What's good representation? What's bad representation? How has representation changed in video games? And we're looking, Red Dead 1 was awesome. And this is a little bit of Nintendo's representation. Now, this is not Princess Peach. That's not quite Princess Peach right there. And that's not quite another princess. And I didn't even know it, but this is not really a princess, but is a female representation in video games. Didn't know it when I was playing early on. I played some Metroid growing up. That's Samus Aran. My main in Smash. People always say, who's your main in Smash? Samus. Not Zero Suit Samus. Because I don't know how to play Zero Suit Samus with that whip and stuff. Undead Nightmare is still one of... Yeah. Undead Nightmare for Red Dead DLC. Really good stuff. It's so good. This is not regular old Princess Peach right here. Nintendo has done so much with their franchises. Like, Nintendo just goes sideways with what they create. And they definitely went sideways when they didn't have regular old Princess Peach anymore. They had Paper Mario Princess Peach or Paper Princess Peach. So Nintendo's done a great job. And it's pretty interesting to see I think they do more with the Princess Peach character now. Sheik was a major change to Zelda. So if people didn't know this, Legend of Zelda. Zelda is the princess in the Nintendo franchise. And then Sheik was introduced in Link to the Past. Ooh, wait a minute. Ocarina of Time. Sorry. Brain jumped a moment right there. We were talking about Link to the Past earlier. But Ocarina of Time, Sheik was introduced. Great character. Did Sheik do a lot? Didn't she get her own game at one point? Good question. I don't think Sheik has had her own game. She really came back in Super Smash Bros. Melee was when people were super excited that they had Sheik in the second Smash Bros. Game. I don't think Sheik has had her own main title. If someone drops that in the chat, to my knowledge, there is no Sheik main title. But Samus, and there's a new Metroid game coming out. Peach didn't get her own. Peach did, but it was a weird game where she basically, it's not, Peach had one. It was a Game Boy game. Someone dropped that in the chat if you can find it. Peach had her own game, and her powers were based on emotions. That one's a little bit iffy on, I'm not in this group to come for to Super Princess Peach on DS right there. Elizabeth gotten some Eevee in the chat, I think, right there. Eevee, Flower Crown Eevee, that's awesome. I got a Flower Crown Eevee on Pokemon Go. She did have a DS game, Super Princess Peach, and I think it was pretty good, actually, people said, but the way they did it was a little So, but, it's a good gameplay, and then I think there is a talk to be had about how do we make people view these characters, because in truth, I think I just remember her main power was crying, and it was weird. Exactly. That's where it's like, is that really the way we should be? It's Nintendo's character. They can do whatever they want with the character, but does it really help further it right there? Does it, I don't know. Is it good? Let's throw out some more points. Thank you everyone so much for the conversation, and just drop your thoughts on this conversation, like what you're thinking. Now, when it comes to really good representation, I think we've increased the, in my view, once again, I'm not part of the group being represented right here, so especially if you have views as part of the in-group right here, let us know. But Lara Croft early on was a very, just the representation on Lara Croft was more towards maybe what males wanted in a Lara Croft character. But if you've played the latest Lara Croft games, they're really good. And of course, what was even excellent is the latest Lara Croft games kind of changed the view. Angelina Jolie originally portrayed Lara Croft throughout the movie franchise, but then we've had a change in actors, of course, because Angelina Jolie portrayed Lara Croft 15, 20 years ago. But the newer Lara Croft games take a whole new path on the character, and it's almost more like an Assassin's Creed type game. But I must mention, got over here on this page, I must mention probably one of our favorite representations in video games as of late. If you have not played this game yet, you should definitely check it out. But has anyone in the chat, besides me, played Horizon Zero Dawn? Horizon Zero Dawn on the PlayStation, just like another Assassin's Creed type game, and really, really great, just amazing, awesome game. Just, I guess, almost like a Metroidvania where you increase your character's skills, you get to new areas, more open world too. Played it twice, yeah. Just top tier, and definitely waiting for the new one of this to come out. So if you're looking for a great game, Horizon Zero Dawn, just overriding stuff. Oh my God. Yeah, well, if you get any chance to play it, top tier game, really great motion capture on characters too. So great game, and you should check out the PS5 like enhanced footage of it. Absolutely. Is she in Fortnite now? Good stuff. And it was funny, my fiance and I were talking about this. Yeah, we were talking about Last of Us earlier. I need to start playing some more Last of Us. We started it and then we didn't finish it. We're doing Drake's Nathan Drake collection right now on PlayStation. But we were talking about how people make advances towards Aloy, like male and female make advances towards Aloy, and Aloy's like, hey, I don't got time for this. I'm on a mission. So I thought anytime someone's like, so how are you? And she's like, I'm good. I'm trying to figure out the past. And they're like, oh, okay. And she's like, do you know anything about the past? She's very focused, and it's really cool. And I think they just do her character really, really well. So Horizon Zero Dawn, great representation, at least I think. But check out that. And also, Lara Croft has been a huge change in the way games go. And I will say this, it really goes to just who's been playing video games. Video games have changed drastically in who's playing them. And we're near the end of the lecture now. The end of the lecture is more similar to what I did last year, hence I might do it a little bit quickly. But I do want us to have a conversation. Oh, I do have another little new bit in here. Sega came in, and Sega appeared, but Sega soon dropped off the scene again. But one thing I want to mention, we have the console wars. People may not have known this. I love telling people things they didn't know. Did you know about the PlayStation? But did you know when the PlayStation came out, it was originally being developed for who? Who originally was developing the PlayStation? The answer's over on the other side of the screen. You might recognize this controller right here, but it says Sony PlayStation on it. If you've ever had, it looks very similar to something you may have used. Nintendo. Nintendo was originally developing the PlayStation, and that is a Super Nintendo controller with the PlayStation logo on it. And that's just what? What? And so one of their biggest competitors was born from them almost. And now PlayStation's huge out there. But did you also know Nintendo had right here the Nintendo Panasonic Q. And so if you ever, I really want one of these. This is a GameCube. I should have grabbed a better high-def image. But this is a GameCube right here that actually can play DVDs. I think it has a smaller tray inside of it, so it can play the GameCube smaller discs that are like this big, where a regular DVD is about that big. But this is the Panasonic Q, which can play, it's a GameCube basically, the game of Cuba. And the GameCube can play the small discs, but the Panasonic Q can play the small discs and the big discs. It's got the memory slots on the front, all that good stuff. And you even get like a DVD thing. I should just get that as my DVD player. Who knows the name of this color right here? It's not UT orange, and it's not orange. This color for GameCube controllers and GameCubes was known as what? If you know your GameCube stuff right here. I was huge into Nintendo at this point. Super Monkey Ball. Everything. This is right after N64. N64 was great. GameCube came out. Smash Bros. Super Mario Sunshine. You're talking Mario Kart Double Dash. Just some amazing games on GameCube that still hold up to this day. I think GameCube is where you get into maybe a more modern era of gaming. You've even got better outputs on it, like S-Video. No one's using S-Video these days, though. But that color right there is spice. known as Spice, and the purple was indigo. So we just thought that was cool, and we'd say, give me the Spice controller. So the last little bit right here is we see the other consoles dying off right here. Wind Waker, oh my gosh, was Wind Waker, let me just double check. Wind Waker is GameCube, right? Yes, it is, because that's the Disney one. Everyone will talk about being the Disney one. It's the cel-shaded. Wind Waker is cel-shaded. That is GameCube, yeah. So Wind Waker, which is really kind of a unique kind of sort of Zelda one, because then you go to not Breath of the Wild, you go to the Wolf one, you go to, why can't I think of the Zelda franchise that comes after Wind Waker, and then you have the Wolf one. What is it? Wind Waker, it was a branch one, right? Yeah, so they did it between. It came out Twilight Princess, yep. And then Twilight Princess, I think they also released on the Switch. So Twilight Princess right after, yep. And because you could also, you don't turn into a wolf in, yeah. Twilight Princess was good. Oh, and then Skyward Sword. We're forgetting Skyward Sword right there. Skyward Sword was on the Wii, and then the Wii U was, or there's so many branches. Gosh, the Wii U was just a flop by Nintendo right there, which I do think I have it here. No, I don't have it anymore in there. But here's where Sega and Atari kind of dropped off the pack. And Atari, it's sad to think, was leading the pack for a long time. Sega had some great consoles, but nope, gone, but not forgotten. Xbox coming in with their many Xboxes. Mistakes were made by Nintendo right here. The Wii U, the forgotten console of Nintendo. The halfway point, hate Skyward Sword. Oh, you don't like holding sword up and then slash, hold the sword up, slash. You got to slash that bamboo. I liked it a little bit. The end battle in Skyward Sword is worth it though. When you go to that like glassy area, ooh, that end battle. Of course, the one with the rain in Wind Waker is really cool. Where you have to fight Ganon in the rain, or the dude in the rain area. That's pretty cool too. And here's the current gen with the OLED Nintendo Switches coming out. Are they out right now? I just haven't bought one, so I'm not so certain. But you know what's interesting? I actually think Nintendo's making a mistake again. People are very disappointed, at least from what I've been seeing, and also I'm disappointed too, with the OLED Nintendo. I mean, I think the Switch came out in 2017. Switch is about 4 or 5 years old, and Nintendo is basically just giving it an OLED screen. We're not seeing much of an update to it. I mean, that's going to give you better viewing angles. I think they made the back stand a little bit better, but I don't know if Nintendo. The Switch is still great, still a great handheld, still a great console, but is it going to lead the way as PlayStation and Xbox push the boundary of what can be done with graphics? But Nintendo's shown you don't have to have the best graphics, and with games like Celeste and Hollow Knight, you don't have to have the most intense graphics. You can just have a good, strong video game. And that is the end. But I want to hear your thoughts. What are you thinking? I hope this brought enough new to the table this year. New thoughts, new ideas, new things to think about when we think about the history of video games, because this is a huge franchise. You might end up doing something with video games. You never know. And if you do, let me know. Because the video game franchise still is a multi-billion-dollar industry. When Grand Theft Auto 6 drops, some big numbers and records are going to be broken. Let's hop back to the main screen. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts? Drop them in the chat. How many people did we have tonight? I'll go look at the stream afterwards. I don't want to look now. Hoping we had a bunch of people here and you had a good time. Got to learn a little bit about video games. And if you have questions, let me know. It's time. If you have questions, ask your questions. Whatever you're thinking. I don't know everything. I like reading video game history books. I used to read more than I did. My friend Cody had a whole bunch I'd borrow from him. I don't think PC games can ever be topped unless they... Yeah, so PC games is its whole thing, because you can look at the history of like Sierra games. Like Sierra had games. Let me go show some of that. Old school text-based adventure games were a big thing. Like if you go to Zork, Zork is kind of where it all started. Zork PC. So if you want to talk about the early of text-based games. Oh, that was... Yeah. Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima. I can't even pronounce it. Here's Zork. So now we're talking about like... And then if you go here and you go to like Space Quest PC. And here's what Space Quest looked like. This is a game I grew up playing. Oh man, didn't even look... Oh gosh, that guy's scary right there. But This is original Space Quest. Man, this was what I originally played growing up. I hope the price of VR drops. So yeah, you got and that the bring in of VR. There's so many things I could include. That dude is just scary right there. Roger Wilco, Space Quest. It looks like some Space Quest 2. Yep, I remember that. These are the earliest games I was playing: Space Quest, King's Quest, Quest for Glory. Which Quest for Glory? Quest for Glory was a RPG game I played and had a lot of mythology and mythical characters. So really cool stuff like Baba Yaga and all these different characters throughout multiple different things. But Quest for Glory was such a fun game. But yeah, you just went through like different realms and different mythologies, and I didn't even realize it. I was learning like all these different things and going to all these different faraway lands. But it was just kind of a cool adventure to like experience, you know, this world of like different things. And you had to like, it was text-based also at times. You had to like, some of them were point click, some of them were more text-based, adventure-based. But kind of makes the world a smaller place. But PC games have a whole huge history. I'm so glad, Timothy. This is a lot of fun for you right there. And PC gaming nowadays, if you look at the top tier graphics, I purchased an Oculus Rift a couple months back, and honestly, it's incredible. I think there are potential with VR, especially with AAAs like Half-Life. Yeah, I showed my dad the new God of War trailer, and he's like, they should put that game in VR. And I was like, well, like Super Hot. That's the game I was thinking about earlier, Super Hot, which my dad doesn't know what Super Hot is. I was like, some games are meant to be VR, Dad. Like, you don't just make... But no, I think, like, Half-Life and stuff, which is a first-person, that would be really good VR. Like, if they ever come out with... Is that the new Half-Life Alyx? Is that what's going to come out? Do they have the new Half-Life? Going to Blake right there. Blake, tell me if there's a new Half-Life coming out. I played Half-Life 1 and 2. I think that's it, right? VR is great. Now we're starting to get even more access to specialized VR equipment like omnidirectional treadmills too. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the circular ones you step in. I think I was going to include that at one point because I just don't know that much about VR, but the omnidirectional treadmills, the things you can stand in and walk in, that's just super cool. It's out. It's awesome. Wait, is the new Half-Life out? Wait, what? PC games I'm so behind on. Oh, it is. Survival game. It's a survival game. Came out 2020. Got amazing reviews. Well, that's awesome. I didn't even know this. When you had that... Wow, that looks good. I played Portal. Yeah, this looks good. Good seeing you here, Sebastian. You're welcome. It's not technically Half-Life 3, but a standalone single-player full VR title. Oh, so it is VR. Yeah, it looks super good. Graphics look great. If gameplay's good, it's got to be good. Because with these sorts of graphics, and yeah, it looks super cool. If we ever get VR, I'll remember this. I didn't know that a new Half-Life VR was out. I guess because I don't stay up on much VR. Memory, is that the memory requirement? 12 gigs? Graphics, GTX. Some strong requirements. It's a shame that Valve hardly makes any games. Yeah, Valve really stopped after a while making games. Awesome job. Well, thank you, everybody. Really great talk here tonight. My email, I just want to drop in the chat right here, is bstevens@utk.edu. So if you are finding yourself with any questions or just want to share your thoughts, let me know. But I think the biggest thing we found out here tonight is there's always a video game out there to explore, to find out, and share your adventures with everybody. And with that, everybody, we'll say our famous name. Check out the trailer. Oh, dude, I'll check it out. I'll show my fiance the trailer too. But thank you so much, everybody. It's a pleasure presenting, and I hope everyone has a great evening. And as we like to say, Puppet Shark, do you know what we say? It's not what we say, Puppet Shark. We say, bye for now. Bye for now, everyone. Bye.